When you get a little overzealous.
We were neighbors forever.
I said, you know, I started church on Sunday, and this Sunday I came from my granddaughter has a soccer,
Oh,
and it's over in Reims. So,
that's a ways to
yeah.
get there.
So,
Where is the air
Oh, well,
conditioning?
next
I'm saying the same thing.
Good
Very
heavens.
hot. I'm like,
Getting
what's
over
happening
Tuesday.
here?
Yeah, yes.
I thought the air conditioner was supposed to be on.
Yeah.
And I think a unit is down. That's what I think, because I don't feel anything.
No.
I don't know. But
I don't think you bought a baptistry. I think you bought a sauna.
don't worry.
Carol poked me.
No, don't feel any. Oh, I'm online. I'll keep that to. I'll tell you afterwards the story. I forgot I was online. Good day, everybody, and welcome to Bible study. Right, we got it going. I was a little bit out and off base today, but we're good. And so today I want to talk on the topic, the end is near. But before we go any further, let us open a word of prayer. God, we thank you for allowing us just to be here this morning, that we can have another Bible study. I pray that whatever is said and done, that your will be accomplished. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So I am not going into eschatology, all into Revelation and all of that. That's not what I'm doing. And the reason why I'm doing this is because since the pandemic, and even over the break, people keep questioning me. Is this means that? Does that mean this? And does that? Is God coming tomorrow? And I'm like, okay. He doesn't call Mario and says, hey, buddy, I'm checking in. But people think, I know, I don't know if other pastors are getting it, but weird hours of the morning, I get texts. Do you think God is doing this? I'm like, I'm telling the truth, I was just praying to him, I didn't say that to me, so I don't know. But that is what I'm getting. So I decided to do something on the last days. But when I thought about it, I said, I don't want to go into Revelation. I want it to be simple so that, as Gary usually said, even a monkey could do it. Now we got to be careful because people take offense to that too. But I want it simple that even a monkey can understand it, because people have it to teach that you don't know about the last days unless you read Revelation. That is not true. Absolutely not true. You can know what is coming. You just get the detailed events of certain part in Revelation, because there's a continuation happening in the last days. And so we are going to look at it. We're going to look at the discourses. Those are what Jesus said. Okay, you want to know what's happening, disciples? This is what is coming. So he said it out of his mouth. So we're looking at the Matthew 1 today. We won't finish it. So next week we'll probably finish the Matthew 1. Then we look at the Luke 1, which is a repeat, but still we want to look at both of them. Then hopefully by the third week we're going to look at the different verses in the Bible that shows us, hey, this is what is going to happen, so we can look forward and see these things. So that's where we are, and we're not going into Revelation, and it takes us about 3 to 4 weeks just to complete that. We're going into Revelation, we'll be here forever. So here we go. The end is near. Now, today, you want to give me trouble today? I guess I should have changed the batteries. Here we go. Okay. Everything is giving trouble. What's going on here today?
There we go.
There we go.
We got birds.
There we go.
there we go.
And let's get this going again. Here we go. I thought was this giving trouble now. See? It wasn't this. Alright. Now, since this pandemic happened, a lot of people have asked me about the coming of the Lord. You would not believe some of the questions, man. I don't know what they are thinking, but I guess they think, I don't know, they probably think God and I have coffee every morning. We do speak, but I mean, we don't have coffee. So, I mean, but that's what people ask me, as if I would know some of these things. There is no way I can tell you when he's coming. I need to just put that out there. I can give you, signs of the times, just like what everybody else is seeing, but I cannot tell you. Now, there's a bunch of people out there that say they can tell you. It's a lie. You just check the scriptures and you know that it is a lie, right? And you can know they're lying because God says nobody's going to know. So he's going to come on a day when everybody's least thinking it. That's how it's going to happen. Now, what I do know is that it's closer than ever. It's very close based on what I'm seeing happening in the scriptures, right? Now, God exists outside of time, so how he operates is way different from we think. Closer than ever to me and you and everybody next week. Closer than ever to God could be 500 years. You get what I'm saying? So, but based on what I'm seeing, all I know is closer than ever. Now, something important to remember is that when God comes back for us and the rapture happens, there is a whole lot left to happen in this world. And this is where the teaching breaks down. The teaching breaks down because people think the rapture and then it's done. Everything is finished. There is a whole lot more. That's where Revelation kind of takes up with the rapture. So after the rapture, a whole lot more is happening, and that's when we get into. So some people think Revelation is like what is happening now. Not really so much. It does talk about, when it's talking about the churches and how they behave, which is the way it classes all the people. Yes, it talks about what is happening, but Revelation more goes into what happens after he comes for his children. So that's something people need to know, because this teaching has broken down in the church, and a lot of people have it that after the rapture it's all done and over, we're in heaven forever and all of this and nothing more happens and it's all done and the judgment. No. So this is a little timeline of what is going to happen. I'm not concerned about the order. I'm just telling you of some of the things that are happening. Doesn't mean I have every single thing in there, but I put it in a nutshell so people can understand what is happening, making it simple. So the last days takes us from when Jesus walked the earth, comma. I need people to understand that. So a lot of people think the last days started the year 2000 with Y2K and all of that. No. The last days actually started when Jesus came. That's when the wrapping up sequence started. That's a long time ago. That's over 2,000 years ago. But that's when he came to heal the world, starting the wrapping up sequence. The last days started from that time. I don't know about you, but if I count 2,000, I can't get it on my fingers. So that's how long ago the last days started. Now we continue, and the last day, the last days stretch from when Jesus came to past the rapture. We need to understand that the last days does not stop at the rapture. A lot of people are talking about. That is wrong. So you're going to have God coming back for his saints. You're going to have people going to heaven and all of that. We living with God and earth continuing. That's big. A lot of people did not know that's what was going to happen. But that is what is actually going to happen. So you're going to have the rapture and the last days still continuing. So the last day starts from Jesus, the rapture happens, and the last days are still going on. Right? Now, after you pass the rapture, you have the Antichrist revealing themselves. Some people say they're going to reveal himself before the rapture. I disagree with that. But if you want to say before, I ain't going to argue with you. That's fine with me. But you have the Antichrist revealing themselves. Then you're going to also have the tribulation period. So all of that is happening after the rapture. Right? So you're going to have the years of peace. And everybody said, the Antichrist, this man or this woman or whoever the person is knows what they're doing. That's why they're in charge. And then he's going to open up a can of worms and say, yes, I work for the devil. And then they're going to be tribulation period. Can't buy or sell without the mark. All of these different things. It's going to be terrible. Right? Then you're going to have the devil running the show kind of openly. Because you're going to have a spokesperson. So you're going to have to know who you're serving. Remember I talked about the Antichrist, the person that speaks a lot, the beast, and it talks about these things. So he's going to be running the show openly with his representatives. Right? Then you have another part where he's locked away. listen, I didn't write it. It's in Revelation. And he's locked away for a period of time. Now, this is the time when the earth, I think, should use their brain and say, okay, let's see if we can get back with God. So to me, this is like a break for them to use their brain and get back with God, even though the devil was open. But a lot of people are still going to what? Stuck in their ways. And his regime is going to probably still stand for a certain point. You're going to have people say, no, we're not letting go of the master. He shall be loose again. And guess what? He's actually going to get loose again. But not because he escaped, but God allows him to get loose. And he's going to run the show again. Right? And there is at least one major battle in there. Some people say there's a lot of battles. I can tell you there's at least one. Right? So you don't have to worry about all the others that people are trying to pinpoint. The Battle of Armageddon is going to happen. That's the major one. Now when all of these are finished away with, right, then you will have the last day. The last day is actually Judgment Day. So the last day is when he says, okay, Mario, you were lying. Go over there, lake of fire. Nancy, you're good. You over here or whatever. However he does the judgment, I can't tell. I'm not the judgment king, but the last day is Judgment Day. Now, we need to understand that when all of this is going on here, we still have at least 1,000 years to go. What? What? I'm talking after the rapture. I'm not talking now. I don't know how much is happening now, so we could still have 1,000 years. No, I don't know. But I'm telling you, after the rapture, we have at least, and how do we know this? The Bible told us that the devil, and it's going to be more than 1,000, this is why. The time when he is locked up, he's going to be locked away for 1,000 years. Holy moly. So he's going to be locked away. Because, and some people say, why did God do this? It doesn't make any sense. Now remember those other demons that were locked away when they tried to create the human species and they couldn't get to come up to the earth and all of that jazz and stuff? He's actually giving him back his punishment now by himself. Because in the tribulation period, the bottomless pits will be open and all of that, and those demons will be coming up. But no, he's going to have to be bound for 1,000 years in chains. 1,000 sealed years, he can't do anything. That doesn't mean the influence of the other demons won't what? Be on earth. You get what I'm saying? So that will still be happening. That's why people will still try to serve the devil. Just like no, people still serving the devil. Right? So that is what is going to happen. So within this period, after the rapture, there is at least 1,000 years. Holy moly, we ain't wrapping up yet. A lot of people don't understand this. So, when we're talking about the end times and we're saying God's coming is soon, we're actually at the first part, which is we're expecting this to happen very soon, the rapture. We need to get that clear because a lot of people are saying, you know, when the rapture comes, it's over. No, that's the beginning of the other part that's coming, that we are not going to be here for. Now, if he chooses people to go back and do all wonderful things, I always say to Nancy, I don't want to be here. No, I can't tell you what God, I can't tell you that he's going to do that. He's God. So if he says to me and Nancy, you know what, you're going to go back and be one of the prophets and talk to the people. Choose Gary. I don't want to go back. I can't tell you what he's going to do. You know, he could do that because there's scriptures talking about at least 2 prophets that are going to be talking to people. So I'm just telling you, anything can happen. He's God. You don't check in with me, but this is what is happening. Right? So, what's very near, however, is what I was talking about. And that is the return for the Lord's people. When God is coming back for us. And that is the rapture. That is the big one. The one where we're caught up to meet him in the clouds and we're going to heaven, which is beyond the clouds, is where he dwells now, where he kind of talks about the pearly gates and the streets of gold, all of that jazz. That's the one we're looking forward to. So, if you want to call it, that's kind of the first end, but it's not the end. But that's where things change totally, right? Now, when this happens, the world will surely be very different. Think about this. Planes flying, cars driving, Nancy going to work, you going to look after a patient, you're about to stick him with the needle, all of these different things, Kathy in the grocery store, all of these things, and then poof, you've disappeared. Now, all those who are poof while you're driving, countless of accidents. Forgot I have my phone on me. There's the other thing now. Please forgive me. Oh boy, this is a terrible start. Let me put it on silent. All right, here we go. Good. Right? So, poof, all of these things happening. If it's a Christian pilot, and this co-pilot doesn't know what to do, sorry, plane crashes. So that's what's going to happen. I always wondered how people are going to hate God when they see so many people taken up and they have another chance. But think about the husband that married the wife that's a Christian. And she's gone. And he's going to hate God. You took her away from me. You took away my family. And vice versa. So that's why all of this hatred for God will be around. So the world will be very different.
Are you going to bring up the Left Behind series at all?
I
think we have some of the
I thought about it, but as I said, let me go through the simple one first.
Okay.
Because when you go into
What you're
Left
saying,
Behind,
that's very graphic. in what
yeah,
you're saying.
yeah, it's very graphic in going to, and I try to tell people to get it because, as I said, many people don't get it, but there's gonna be a bitterness towards God. Think about all the people that are going to die that hate who God is. Because the people that die that love God and have gone to heaven, right, in the rapture, the other people that are left behind are going to be so bitter, they're going to be like, I'll never serve him. I'll never serve him. And so that opens the door for the Antichrist. You ever wonder how the Antichrist is going to be able to convince millions, billions of people to follow him? How is that going to work? Well, it's very simple. Kill, or to them it's kill, but really taken away all of the different loved ones for different persons in the entire world. It's easy to hate somebody. If I come and murder Nancy, Gary hates me. Simple math equation. You get what I'm saying? So that's basically how the world is going to be operating. It's going to be real graphic. And think about how news media reports stuff. Now, if this is not happening just in Myerstown, this is happening worldwide. That's going to be playing for a long time. So the world will be very different, right? Now today, as I said, I just want to look at the signs or the clues that Jesus gave us so we could know that the end is near, which is the end of an age, but not the end, the last day. So this is just when the rapture. So we're going up to the first end, as I would like to call it, which makes it easier. And we're going to look at signs of the times for us to understand that, hey, this one is very near. How is it so near? I have no clue, but based on the scriptures, because I thought when I was living in the 80s as a young boy and they said Jesus is coming, I'm like, wow, by the time I'm 25, this is done. I'm 43 now and it ain't done yet. But then I started realizing, holy cow, a lot of things missed me. And then I realized it's really near. So, I'll be looking at his signs of the times, not the rest of the Bible yet. We want to see what Jesus really said we should look for, because he gave us some clues. Right? So we start off with the Matthew discourse here. And we're only going to get to Matthew 24, 1 to 8. That's it. Because there's a lot of things he said right here. Now, simple talking with his people. That was what was happening here. So, just read the story. It says, then Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came up to show him the buildings of the temple. I don't know why you want to show Jesus the building. But guess what? We all do it when somebody hasn't seen something before. We say, oh, have you seen, what was the place there in Reading? What's the name? With that Chinese looking building.
Pagoda.
Yeah. Everybody keep on telling me to go there. I haven't been there yet. But go look at the pagoda. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go there. It's the same thing. Humans are the same wherever they are. Just want you to understand it's a normal conversation. Wasn't anything spiritual happening here. So they came up to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said to them, do you not see all these things? Assuredly I say to you, not one stone shall be left here upon one another that shall not be thrown down. So in other words, look at the big buildings, Jesus. You don't even understand what's happening. That's going to be destroyed. Oh, it's such a shame. It's beautiful, but it's going to be destroyed. The disciples are like, what? So would any one of us be like, what? If we build a beautiful house and, Nancy and Gary show me the beautiful house and I say, it's a beautiful house, but it's going to fall down. Nancy and Gary's going to be like, what? That's basically what happened here. So they waited, and it says, now as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, so they let the crowd go. So apparently when we were looking before, there were other people there, so they waited. And they came to him privately saying, tell us, because we want to know, when will these things be, and what will be the sign of your coming, and the end of the age? So, not the end of the days, but the end of that age. That's the rapture. So we need to understand what the verse was saying here. Now, first one we're going to look at. And before we look at it, we need to understand that this is it. Many people, scholars who study the Bible, disagree or agree on the first point. Right? And the next part of the scripture was supposed to be here, but it's not. How did I make that mistake? But anyway, the first part of the scripture tells you what he said was going to happen. Now I know I have it somewhere else on here, so I can show you for yourself. Here it is. And Jesus answered and said to them, take heed that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name saying, I am the Christ. Right? But before we get to all that, I want to show you this. Right? Now they said, get to the end of the age. Right? And Jesus was supposed to tell them. But before people even got to the part about who Christ is, all the scholars started disagreeing on a big thing, which is so trivial, but this is what happens when people study too much. And they try to tell you what they think. I don't let it bother me. Right? This is the first part they disagree on. Some people say the real destruction of the temple has not yet happened. Remember, all of this started from this simple conversation about what? The temple. So they were saying, tell us when this is going to happen. But Jesus already told them that the temple was going to be destroyed. So a lot of scholars, they disagree on the first point before they even listen to what Jesus had to say. Right? So this is the truth. The temple was destroyed twice. In my personal belief, Jesus prophesied what was going to happen with the temple, because he told you what? No stone will be left. It's going to be completely destroyed. Right? Now, the temple was destroyed in 586 BC by Babylon. What does BC means? Before Christ. So this is before he walked the earth, Nebuchadnezzar days, way back there, Daniel days. That's a long, long time. Now we say in Jamaica, when we say long years, we say donkey years. Don't know why, but that's what they say on the island. So this was donkey years ago that this happened. And Jesus could not be telling them about this, because that would make no sense, because now they're looking at the rebuilt temple, which was more beautiful. Remember Solomon came, rebuilt the temple, all of that, and so it's all done and pretty and beautiful. Solomon spared no money on the temple. It was beautiful. So then, can't be this one. But the temple, look at this, was destroyed in 70 AD by the Roman Empire. What does AD means? After the death. Of who? Jesus Christ. Why are they concerned about this part when clearly this happened after his death, just like he said? So a lot of people are arguing that it didn't happen, but this is the truth. It was totally demolished, burned to the ground, and turned to rubble. You know stones don't burn, right? So you know they had to do more stuff just to make sure it was rubble. That's what they did to the temple in 70 AD, the Roman Empire. Because that was the year that iron came in and all of that. And they made sure they were ruling with an iron fist when they took over Roman Empire. And so any gods that were bigger than Caesar or any places like that, they crushed it because they wanted you to worship Caesar. It was afterwards they started to give the Jews, you know, you can worship in a temple and all of that and stuff. Then they put their leaders in there to say, you know, make an allegiance with them. And that's the story of Jesus from all the way back at that time. So you understand what's happening. So it was totally demolished and burned to the ground 70 AD. Done. Rubble. Just like what Jesus said. This is an historical fact that cannot be changed. Jesus said it and it happened in history. So he predicted a historical event. Not something that we're going to look up in the Bible. He predicted something that is recorded in history before it happened. So when they want to say Jesus don't know what he's talking about, you can't take that away from him because he told them that this was going to happen. Before it happened, it was recorded in history. Right? So that was the first point that he was talking about. And he was just having a conversation. He didn't start telling them what was going to happen yet. Now we get to hear. So he started talking now. I said, you want to know? All right, let me tell you what you should look for. Take heed that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name saying, I am the Christ. And will deceive many. People are going to come back and say, I'm Jesus. And people are going to believe that. The disciples must be saying, Jesus, did you get into the good water again? They're like, no, people are going to say that. Then he says, and you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled. For all these must come to pass, but the end is not yet. See, it's very specific. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in various places. All these are what? The beginning of sorrows. People need to read this and get the understanding. And I mean, as I said, this is just down to verse 8. We haven't listened to the other part that he has said yet. But this part alone has so much to impact on us, right? He gives you a whole bunch of stuff here, and you think it's so bad, he says the end is not yet. He gives you another bunch of stuff here, and he says this is the beginning. This is the part that most people miss. Because they're wrapping up everything already and said this is what is coming, and the end is not yet, and it's the beginning of sorrows. Whoa. So that means those things have to happen for the earth to become sorrowful before the end, which is the rapture, the first end. Now think about this. Is the earth all of a sudden kind of changing and becoming sorrowful? Yes. Because a couple of years, let's go back 10, 15, 20 years, we thought things were bad, right? Yeah, 20 years ago things were bad. But the earth, as an earth, was not sorrowful. We have now since really started to experience sorrow on the earth globally. Let's just use COVID. That is global what? Sorrow. So you had individual sorrows in different countries. But now we have what? Global sorrows. So there's a whole lot going on the earth right now. So if you Google the list of names of people, just to show you we're living in real time. If you Google the names of the list of people who claim to be Jesus Christ, the list is too long for Mario to put up on the screen. From since Jesus came and died and left, the list is too long. They had to break them up in, and I didn't know this is new to me. I was shocked when I saw it. They broke it up into centuries. 18th century, 19th century. I was like, what the crap? That's the truth. I did not know this. Did you know that, Gary? I didn't know that either. And I was like, this is unbelievable. I didn't know there were so many people. I know about the modern ones because I do, but I didn't know it was going back so far that a lot of people have been claiming that they had to break it up into centuries. So many people have been claiming to be Christ, the Son of God. I was shocked. I had to just leave it alone and put this statement in there, right? People from all over the world, including USA, have claimed this. And the funny thing, first time I taught this somewhere and I didn't put United States in there, and I was teaching in the United States. One of the comments that came out, yeah, those African people, they always get fooled because they're not all that educated. So for every time I put this statement, now I put including United States, it happens here too. It happens in all the first world countries, along with Africa. Heck, even in Jamaica. I was shocked. When I mean even in Jamaica, I'm sitting watching an interview of a man that claims to be Jesus Christ. In Jamaica. In my lifetime, I'm like, is this for real? So I'm showing you this is not new or just isolated to countries that they claim are not educated. First world, all over Europe, England. I mean, there are so many. When I started to look at them, it blew my mind. And in USA as well. Right? Now they have people who believe them and follow them. That's the part that gets me. How are you going to have people that believe and follow? Say, I'm Jesus Christ. If I get up tomorrow morning and say, I'm Jesus Christ, it's very simple. You do, you check me into the rehab. I've been smoking something heavy. It's very simple. But these people have people who believe them and follow them. Now, it is clear the followers are not reading the Bible. Because if they were reading the Bible, they would know this was a lie because Jesus said it would happen. He just said it. When you see people saying this about me and that they are Jesus, they're going to deceive many. And I was like, how could that happen? But then I remember a friend of mine, they're Coptic Christians. They're from, let me not call his name next time he watches the video. But they're from another region in the world. Now from that region of the world, they don't read the Bible for themselves. It is like seen as you're not worthy to open the scriptures. So the only person that can read the Bible is the pastor or the father. That's what they call him. So he's the only one that can open it and tell them the scriptures. This means there is nobody to correct him, object to what he's saying, and he tells them anything. Dangerous. Again, the Bible never told us to learn like that. It says to check the scriptures. But again, when you're not reading the Bible for yourself, anybody can tell you anything and you can believe them once they have the power of persuasion. And this is what a lot of these people have. Some of them are clearly mentally insane. I come across that too. But some of them have the power of persuasion and they use it well. Because I am Jesus. And I can't remember when Jesus was back in the days, he was asking for money. He never asked for money. Jesus, and this is something that I keep on telling people. If Jesus needed money, he provided his own by a miracle. Remember, pay the tax. Boom. Mm-hmm. He provided his own. He didn't need resources from anyone because he could print money. Not these guys. They want the money. So again, people be careful of that. But anyway, let's look at some of these pictures. I remember some of them because they've been in it for a good couple of years. Like this guy over there in Europe. Been in for a long time. Don't remember his name. But listen, man. They follow him. Look at the crowds gather just to be touched by him. Because he says he's Jesus. He's the reincarnated. People believe him. And I always, and this is the other thing I try to tell people. Read history. Very important. History and the Bible go hand in hand. And biblical history is different from normal history, but normal history is good too. Now if you read normal history and find out where Jesus came from, up there in the Middle East, or if you want to call it off the continent of Africa, I'm okay with that and stuff. So there's no way he could be white. That's just a fact. I didn't make that up. Because if he was born in the Middle East, all of these people coming from Jerusalem and all of these places, they're not white. They're tan. And I've always said that. How perfect could God be that he came in the middle color for everybody? I've always said that. But you have people who want to make him white, you have people who want to make him black, and all that. He was brown. Argument finished. So he's not white, he's not black, he's brown. Because he came from the middle section. Right? So again, reincarnate right there. You have this man. Now, the wonderful thing about this man, he has a harem of women that serve him. But he is Jesus reincarnate. See, they're pushing him on the chair. He has a nice big village that follow him, and he lives like a king. And the women wipe his toes and cut his toenails and all. See, there are videos, man. Right? Then you have this guy from Africa. He claims to be Jesus. And he wants to look like this guy, so he used a garbage bag for his sash. It's a garbage bag. I checked it, I zeroed on him closely and made sure. Him? Cuckoo. But everybody in the picture is laughing at him, but he thinks he's actually the reincarnate of Jesus. And he walks the street trying to get people to follow him. Right? I just wanted to touch on every different sort of people. Not finished yet. Him? United States of America. Millions of followers. Billions of money he got. This man had private jets, everything. Woo. See that diamond ring on his hand? Woo. Money like crazy. He got a lot of people, and the reason why I put him up, apart from normal Americans, he also got a lot from the Hispanic community. Because they feel they can't get tricked. Well, he tricked a lot of them too. So that's why I try to pinpoint all these different things. Now the funny thing about him, he's Jesus. I watched a video where he says, and I will never die. He dead now. I just wanted you to know. He's dead now. So this is how serious he's dead. I don't know what happened to his church. Stop following it up with him when he died. Another one from Africa here. The bad thing about this, he convinced this one guy who stopped taking care of his wife. They're both retired. And he stopped taking care of her and tell her, you're on your own. I have to give my money to Jesus. And so he sleeps outside while this man sleeps inside, and he gives him all his pension. These are things that are happening. This one from Africa, he's new, did not get much about him yet, so I have to do some studies on him. But this hat that he's wearing, the top of it is cut off, but it's shaped in a crown. And he's saying that's his crown. Hey, I don't know if he's crazy. These two, very dangerous. These two are out of Australia. They have a huge following. So he's Jesus, she's Mary Magdalene in reincarnate. That's what they say. And they said they didn't get to finish their lives back in the days when they were walking the earth. So now they're shacked up together, living together, having sexual relations and all of that. They said they were doing it from back when they were together in Jesus' days. But nobody knew about it. They were always lovers. I'm telling you, Jesus said this. Be careful, you're going to deceive many. This is what he's talking about. All these are real-time things that are happening now. Just that one died recently. Probably about 2-3 years ago he died. But all these are still things that are happening now. Presently. So people are claiming to be Jesus. Alright. So, let's read some more. He talked about it, claiming to be the Christ and will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in various places. All these are beginning of sorrows. Another word for pestilence, when you look at the root word, pandemic, epidemics, and plagues. That's what pestilence means. So that's why a lot of people understood now that the virus, they were like, whoa, this is the beginning of what God is talking about because of that word. You look up the root word, that's what it means. Right? Now, remember I told you when all of this started? Jesus walking there. That's the wrapping up. So that's why people missed on some of these big events, but they started. World War I, 1914 to 1918. It couldn't be just one world war, had another one. World War II, 1939, 1945. So we had what? Wars, right? But not just that, they're still having wars now. Wars in the Middle East that are still happening presently. That is going on right now. There are too many to name. I didn't bother to try and work it out. Because you can't just call one country like Afghanistan. There's so many war happening there. It's just unbelievable. So, war in the Middle East happening presently. Remember back in the day, Iraq invaded Kuwait for the oil? That was a war to save the country of Kuwait. We had to get involved in that. That's a big, think about that, right? Palestine against Israel, that's still happening now. Somebody asked me recently, why is Palestine like that? Why are they always on Israel? Why is that war happening? I said, talk to Abraham when you see him. It's his fault. And they're like, what? I said, yeah, Abraham went and listened to Sarah, got that lady pregnant, the handmaid. That's where Palestine descended from. And so those people are saying Israel's land is ours because Abraham, which is we are the first one, is our land. Why do you think they're fighting for it? We don't know. That's why they're fighting for that land. Because they still say, because remember, Sarah had him thrown out. Remember? And they had to go live up in the mountain land. His other descendants, which a lot of people don't know, are the Muslims. Why do you think there are so many Muslims all over the earth? God said he had to bless them and they're multiplying. Because they got thrown out. So you have Palestine still fighting for the land and you have Muslims trying to take over in a different way. All because of one person's sin. Just letting you know what happened in a nutshell. Right? So there are at least 15 different countries at war in Africa since 2019. Too many to name, not going into it. So these are wars. Think about that. Right? Rumors of war. Remember when everybody thought the rockets were going to be launched? We were all on edge. Don't press the button. Don't press the button, Mr. President. Don't press the button. Because we thought we were going to fight with North Korea. It was right there on the edge and everybody, but it didn't work out. And we went, rumors of, there are other rumors of wars too, but I just used this one because it was so recent. So I just used that one. So again, we're looking at all of these things going on and we're seeing it happening in present day. Right? And so, he says, the end is still not yet. For a nation will rise, and we see all of that. Kingdom against kingdom, but there will be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So, we're going to look at some of these things so you can see for yourself.
Though the coronavirus pandemic was relatively slow to hit many developing countries, the World Food Program warns the outbreak could cause widespread famines of biblical proportions. A report by the UN organization estimating the pandemic could nearly double the number of people facing starvation.
But now the World Food Program analysis shows also, due to the coronavirus, that an additional 130 million people could be pushed to the brink of starvation by the end of 2020. That's a total of 265 million people.
The WFP suggests the economic repercussions of the pandemic, including widespread lockdown measures, coupled with the virus itself, will push struggling nations over the edge. The report cites 10 countries already afflicted by conflict and economic crisis as the most vulnerable, including Yemen, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Afghanistan, and South Sudan. Even prior to the outbreak, East Africa and South Asia were already facing critical food shortages because of drought and record locust infestations. But experts stress the worst-case scenario is not a foregone conclusion, insisting coordinated global action can still mitigate the effects of the pandemic. The World Food Program estimates, however, it will need $350 million immediately, but only a quarter of that has thus far been secured.
350 million. Did anybody notice that that person was not using that jargon properly? Look how far he was from that person. Check. He's going to get a good reading all the time. So, no wonder the virus spreads all the time. But that is famine is happening worldwide in different places. Now, the reason I showed these videos because when we were growing up and we talk about famine, they show you these people from Ethiopia. Remember those Ethiopian videos and all of that? And your mom said, you eat because people is starving in Ethiopia. And you're like, oh my, and stuff like that. But let me tell you this. It has moved a long time from Ethiopia. It's moved a long time from the song We Are the World. And people need to acknowledge that because they don't. So it is showing you that the Bible was consistent in what it's saying. It didn't say famine. It says famines. Ethiopia is one, a bunch of them happened in between, and now we're still having a global one in many countries. So I'm just showing you that. Now, we're going to look at this, how the virus has affected people. I went all the way to my country. You know why? because my country was one of the countries that had to shut the borders to get things in control. They need to do it again. Well, let's look at this.
They came from Norway by sailboat to Jamaica expecting to experience a bit of paradise before returning home. They didn't anticipate that a few weeks later they would be stranded in the country due to a global pandemic infecting millions and killing thousands around the world.
For us, we are allowed to leave since we're traveling on a sailing boat, but I think if we were ashore and being forced to leave the country by plane, we would not be able to do that. But we are permitted to leave the country whenever we want.
Jamaica is heavily dependent on the tourist industry, which brings in billions of dollars per year. But with the sector severely impacted by COVID-19, there's a long way to go. Tourists may not return for months or even years. Vernice Cardello is a tourist who resides in New York, currently the epicenter of the outbreak in the United States. She has been in Jamaica since January, originally visiting to escape the winter, but now trying to avoid it.
As beautiful it is, I miss my family, I miss my friends, I miss my own bed, and so I've been very much wanting to get home, and I haven't been able to get home.
The United States Embassy in Jamaica indicated that U.S. citizens who considered returning home should work with their airlines to make travel arrangements. Vernice says she has tried.
Now, what I'm hearing from JetBlue is that there are no flights till June.
The future of tourism in Jamaica
so long people
now
are stranded in
depends
Jamaica?
on how quickly
Just let you
countries
know.
like the US, United Kingdom, Canada and others recover. Many countries are already easing restrictions, but the present threat of COVID-19 means that there could be a new wave of infections which may affect developing countries' ability to recover economically. Khadija Thomas, CBM Live.
No, that was then. That was before now. People were stranded. So the pestilence word there, which one of them is in the epidemic or pandemic, is what locked down Jamaica, which their basic need is tourism, and they had to close their borders, right? And now we see what this was pre-variants. You know what's coming again, because right now Jamaica is terrible. You have to be stepping over bodies in the hospital on the ground. I'm telling you, that's what is happening. They have to be making this you remember the old World War II hospitals that they made outside with the cots and the beds and stuff like that during the war? That's what's being constructed now on the island by the military. And they just put people under it and basically, buddy, if you make it, you make it. There's no more oxygen, there's no more this, and so people are not even making it inside now because the floors are filled, so they have to be outside in the makeshift ones. This is what is happening. So I'm telling you that pestilence, pandemic, Bible said it's going to get beginning of sorrows. Now we see sorrow really happening. Now we see the other side of pestilence. Let's look at this.
It sounds biblical, but as the world grapples with the COVID pandemic, the continent of Africa is facing another plague, locusts. As Nick Schifrin reports, the small insects pose a serious threat to food security throughout the region.
In East Africa, the air carries two plagues. Locusts, swarms with as many as 50 billion insects. As COVID-19 threatens the people, locusts threaten people's livestock and food.
So this is recent video.
They're being a menace, eating our grass and even getting into our homes. When we slaughter our livestock, we find locust faces in their stomachs. Without a doubt, they are affecting our health, our animals' health, and the environment.
In February, 8 African countries experienced an initial swarm, the largest for parts of the region in 70 years. And now, a new wave is 20 times larger than the first wave.
There are swarms that are, it's not uncommon to be, let's say, the size of Manhattan in New York City. So they can be very big. In one day, that swarm can eat the same amount of food as everybody in New York and California combined.
Keith Cressman is the Food and Agriculture Organization's Senior Locust Forecasting Officer. He says in a region that is already struggling with food security, more than 33 million people are now food insecure and require assistance.
Because this region is very, very vulnerable. For the past 3 years, They faced droughts. This year they faced heavy rains and floods. So already, you know, they're living in a very precarious situation.
Pesticides can fight the locusts. The FAO is appealing for millions of dollars of aid to deliver more. But border closures because of COVID-19 can slow down deliveries. And locals gathering to combat the locusts, often without success, can spread coronavirus. The UN is instead pushing for the use of biopesticides and remote data collection, and is working with governments to ensure the people who are fighting the locusts can travel despite travel restrictions.
The governments realize, you know, not only COVID-19 is serious, but also locust is serious. So they have given waivers to all of those involved in the locust campaign, and they're considered as essential services.
The outbreak originated in the Arabian Peninsula, where heavy rains in 2018 and 2019 created the insect's ideal breeding ground. Climate change might also be making the problem worse.
There's 8 cyclones in 2019. Usually there's none or one. So, you know, obviously something's going on with the weather. It could be climate change, but you know, whatever it is, I mean, if we see this trend continuing, it's going to mean that there's going to be more desert locust upsurges like we're facing this year.
While the world fights the coronavirus, much of East Africa is battling a second threat with no reprieve in sight. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Rashid.
Doing this duty. So that is another side of the pestilence. And people need to understand when God said it, He never said it just arbitrarily. He said it because He knew what was happening. And don't you realize this? One plague is joining with another plague to make sure what He says still comes to pass. So you have the coronavirus working with those, stopping those people from doing their duties, and it's affecting what food, so famine must come into play. Whoa. Because everybody expects famine to only come from a drought. They got too much rain now, and what happened? Famine is on the rise again. But guess what? Not only that, here's another pestilence one. Had to show you this. Different country.
During the day, Graham Jones's grain sheds in central west New South Wales seem normal enough. They're well stocked after a good harvest, but at night time, the mice move in.
Just over it. Just, yeah, like everyone else, just the smell, the stench, you never get used to it.
It's now a race against time to get rid of excess grain so the mice have nothing else to eat.
Yeah, coming home and finding them, just got to look. you can focus on the positives.
Can you imagine guys doing that and that's what coming out?
Here with that storm.
Adam McRae has been trying to prepare for future droughts on his property near Coonamble, but mice have wiped out around 1,500 bales of hay and straw in a matter of weeks.
We're in the hundreds of thousands where we're looking at with our losses. If we weren't having, you know, a reasonable year right now, we'd be worried straight away, and that's not good.
Further south, near Parkes, Rob McGregor is taking a punt on sowing winter crops now, hoping concentrated baiting and frost will keep the rodents at bay.
It's not a case of the damage they've done, although they are doing damage, but it's more the concern about the damage they may do as we go into sowing. So there's that element of unknown still as to just what's ahead of us.
The New South Wales government's recent pledge of $50 million will provide producers with free bait and rebates of up to $1,000. But for the many farmers who are still picking up the pieces, the damage has already been done. Still, farmers do have things in perspective.
Oh, a lot more optimistic than what we were a year ago. Yeah, no, things were pretty down and out then. We've got hurdles to jump, but at least we've got hurdles to jump.
A troublesome plague, but a drought it is not. Donald Shield, ABC News, Tullamore.
Now, just to let you know, it got worse. I just took the video from the shorter one, but on watching it got worse, and the plague got... So the farmers were saying, yeah, we think we're going to get it. It got worse. And they're not now just like nighttime. They're out in the days, running the streets, people driving over rats. That's how bad it got. And now it's moving from, because one video they said if it was happening in the city they would have started. Well, it started to travel. It's gone into the suburbs now. You have videos of people saying, I don't know what to do with my house. They're fishing dead rats out of their pools. Mice, because they just go into the pool and they're drowning. They don't know what to do. That's what is happening. So it's getting worse, the mouse plague. So I'm just telling you, pestilence in very different ways, plagues, all of these happening. Well, let's look at earthquakes now.
We go to Haiti now, where more than 300 people are now confirmed dead after a powerful earthquake throttled this island nation Saturday morning. That quake toppled buildings and destroyed homes, hurting nearly 2,000 people. Those on the ground are saying it feels really similar to that earthquake from 2010 that killed hundreds of thousands of people there, except this earthquake was even more powerful. And there are fears the death toll will continue to rise. Vaughn Hilliard has more.
A 7.2 magnitude earthquake jolting Haiti, buildings turning to rubble, hospitals overwhelmed. The extent of the death toll far from known.
So dead bodies on the streets, and the hospitals, they are full with, dead bodies and people who are injured.
Jean Jocelyn and his godmother fled their home in Lacaille, the peninsula's biggest metropolis. Are your friends okay?
Yes, she is my friend. And she was in her house, but unfortunately she died. She died with her son inside the house.
This earthquake in western Haiti, reminiscent of the 2010 one, that killed up to 300,000 Haitians and devastated the nation's bustling capital, Port-au-Prince, ravaging towns like Lacaille, with populations in the tens of thousands. This young girl pulled from the rubble alive, at least 9 aftershocks, rocking the island in the hours since. The quake collapsing this cathedral steeple in the city of Jeremy. What do you fear?
So this is an area that's virtually cut off from the capital and from a lot of life-saving aid right now. Unfortunately, I think we're going to see and hear a lot more about damage and lives lost.
The country already reeling politically after the assassination of its president in July, along with intensifying gang violence and major food shortages. 60 miles from today's epicenter, Len Gangle runs an orphanage with 66 kids. His daughter Brittany died in the 2010 earthquake. The ground shaking had to conjure up a lot for you.
Oh, absolutely. I went into survival mode, immediately rushed the children out of the orphanage.
Wow. Wow. So, this is what is happening all around the world. All the things that Jesus said thousands of years ago are happening now. But there's something that I want you to realize. A very important thing to note here is what Jesus said to his disciples. And I don't want us to miss it. All these are the beginning of sorrows. I pointed it out before, but I want to point it out again. That means this is the beginning of a terrible time in the last days. Bad thing about it, this is not the worst time. But this is the time we are living in. So we can't escape this one unless God says rapture. He hasn't said that yet. So the beginning of sorrows, there's going to be a time of sorrows throughout the world. And we're experiencing that now. And guess what? It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. Right? So this means more events like these will occur, what? More frequently. That's what's going to happen. And we see that. If anybody had told me, as long as I can know, troops were in Afghanistan. Then one day all of a sudden I hear troops are not there anymore and planes leaving, coming back to the United States. I'm like, what? Then Taliban say, yeah. And they took over. Have you ever seen anything like that in your lives? No. If someone told you what that was going to happen, would you believe? No. Beginning of sorrows. So this is what is happening. Right? The time of sorrow will be clear when it is happening. Right? And based on scripture and what I'm seeing, we are currently living in the time of sorrow. That is where we're living in now. So we're near the rapture. Can't tell you how long, but all I don't know how bad this time is going to be, but I know it's going to be bad for the world. So the beginning of sorrows have started, right? The time of sorrow is not the tribulation period, as what some people have put out there in social media and all of these things. There are two different times in the last days. We can't hide from the period of sorrows. But when the rapture comes, we'll be gone. And then they'll have the tribulation period. They have to work that out. But the time of sorrows, we won't be. We have to be in it. So it's two different times. Right? So we are living in a time the disciples never even dreamed of. When Jesus told them, earthquakes, wars, okay, all of these things. They're thinking, yeah. But they never dreamed it would be this bad. We live in a time where things have already happened. So prophecy has been fulfilled. We know about wars because we had 2 world wars. So if anybody doesn't believe there were wars, at least they've heard the 2 major ones. World War I, World War II. So they should know that that prophecy was fulfilled. Right? We're able to see the Bible being fulfilled right now before our eyes. That's why we know we're closer, because many of the things now we can tick it off. Oh, that happened. That happened. That's been happening quite regular. Now, I know a lot of people are saying pandemic hasn't happened since years. That's a bunch of baloney. Epidemics have been happening, coming up consistently. There had to be a worldwide pandemic coming because epidemics were like in these countries, in this country. Think about it. Bird flu, swine flu, mad cow disease. You can name off your head without even studying anything. So all of these were happening. So we were going to get to a worldwide one soon. So Jesus again talked about all these things. And with technology, the Bible prophecies now come to life. Because we can just watch them with technology. So I don't know how people are not convinced that the Bible is true, because you can actually watch these things and see for yourself. If you lived in the disciples' days, you have to what? Imagine. We don't have to imagine. So we also need to remember that there's a lot more left to happen. And that's Bible study for today. So you can see, as I said, we're looking at just what Jesus said. And when we looked at what Jesus said, it's crystal clear that the end is near. People shouldn't say, well, I didn't read the book of Revelation, so I can't know what's happening. Read Matthew. And that's just 8 verses. And look what we did in 8 verses. I have some more verses to go next week, and then I have Luke to look into. And then we have other verses in the Bible. Nobody should tell you that the end day is coming, because we're living in it. It's crystal clear that we're living in the last days. Thank you guys for coming. Any questions?
Thank you.